This is our kitchen setup at the back of our Honda Pilot SUV. We chose the Honda Pilot as the SUV that we wanted a micro camper in because it gave us enough room to both have a sleeping area and a kitchen area without having to move anything around.
Hi, I'm Chris.
And I'm Emily. And we love unconventional minimalist travel. If we're traveling in Canada and the US, we're probably on a road trip in our Honda Pilot micro camper. And if we're traveling abroad, we're probably staying in hostels and Airbnbs. Let's talk about our kitchen camping setup. Our camping kitchen has three main sections. The first section is this drawer section. The second area is where we keep our water and our food. And the third area that we have is for our cooler. In addition to our three main sections of the camper kitchen, we also have our two side sections that we use all the time. One for toilet paper and paper towels and things like that, and the other side for our tools. Let's talk about our drawers. Our top drawer we use mostly for clean stuff like plates, spatulas, pots and pans, anything that we use to cook with or that food will touch. We picked these up a few years ago. We used to use those really cheap plastic camping plates, but because we camp so much and we're on so many road trips, we wanted much nicer dishes, and so we picked up these. I think they're made of melamine, and so they're quite hard and they feel really nice to eat off of, and they're also easy to clean. We just have two, one each, and so it stays pretty light and they don't take up too much space. We keep a bag of spices, of teas, of coffees, salt, pepper, all that kind of stuff in here, and we keep it all contained in this little plastic bag that I think we purchased some underwear or some socks in and then have doubled it up to be used as a camping bag, and it just keeps all of the spices and everything in here and keeps the rest of the drawer clean and free of all the little bits of spices that you might find everywhere. In another one of these old underwear or sock containers, we keep all of our cutlery. We just keep 2 forks, 2 spoons, 2 knives, and that's enough for Chris and I. We also keep 2 sharper knives that we keep wrapped up in a dish rag in the clean drawer so that we can cut and chop veggies as we need to. We use a non-stick pan because it makes it easier for us to clean while we're camping. And we have this piece of plastic that we use to put on top of the pan to separate the pan from the pot so it doesn't get all scratched up. Spatulas, spoons for cooking, a cutting board. Oh, and I forgot we had this, but we also have a vegetable peeler. Our big catch-all drawer keeps pretty much everything in it. So in here we have bear spray, lots of it. We'll actually be pulling this out so it's ready if we need it, especially right now in the spring. Lots of bears around, so good to have it. We have our UV glove, which is great, especially around the fire at night. And we have another trivet we use for camping as well. Lighter, lots of rope, flashlights, knives, spare fuel. We keep our bug spray in here like this. We used to just keep it not in a plastic bag, but we found that for whatever reason, whatever's in bug spray seems to leak everywhere and then it gets all over all your stuff. So now we keep it in plastic bags. We also have some trivia in here so that we can play some games at night, crossword books, other things that we use for entertainment, cribbage board, spare cleaning cloths, things like aluminum foil, first aid kit. I think that pretty much covers most of the stuff in our big drawer. In the middle section is where we keep our water, our food, and also our toiletries. Things like toothbrushes, toothpaste, dental floss, sunblock, anything that you would keep next to your bathroom sink, we keep in here and for easy access. We find it a lot easier than storing it with our clothing because if we keep it here, then it's next to the water, which we need for most of our morning routine. We have a much bigger jug of water that we also keep in a different section of the camper, but this is where we keep the water that we use every day for cooking, brushing our teeth, washing our face, anything like that. And then underneath it is where we keep the drawer with all of our dry food. It doesn't look like a very big spot, but for Chris and I, we can actually hold about a week's worth of dry food in there. Our third main section holds our cooler. This is a Rubbermaid cooler that Chris and I picked up about 20 years ago. For almost nothing. and we're still using it today. We've looked at other options like the Yeti or maybe just one of those electric coolers that everybody seems to be using. For some reason this is working for us. We're able to hold food in here for about 3 or 4 days before we need to go in, get more ice to keep everything cool. In our little section down here, we keep things like toilet paper, paper towels. We also have an electric charging station down in here as well. And this little section down in here is where we hold all of our tools, so things like saws, hammers, and hatchets. And we already did a separate video on this, but under all of this stuff is where we keep our undertrunk stuff, so more first aid, more emergency gear that we don't use on a regular basis. We also have this piece of cardboard behind me that we have big plans to upgrade into a plastic board, but right now it's a piece of cardboard covered in some fabric. And what that does is it keeps the kitchen area separate from the sleeping area, so that if you're sleeping in the morning and the other person is up, there's a little bit of privacy there. It also helps to keep some of the bugs out. We don't drive with it like this because we want to obviously be able to see out the back, but when we get to camp, we just pop it up. One thing I love about our camper kitchen is that it is always accessible to us. Whether we're at camp or we're just on a road trip and we want to pull over for a quick lunch, the camper is always ready for us to do some cooking. One quick note though, we don't drive with everything in place exactly this way. Everything is always stored away and tucked under a cargo net, but it is pretty easy for us to access when we're on a road trip and we're just pulling over for a quick bite to eat. We have this great table here that we use. It folds up into a really small compact table for when we're driving, but when we get to camp or when we're just pulling over for some lunch, we can just set it up and it gives us this extra space to do some cooking on. And that's our SUV camper kitchen setup, complete with everything we need to cook while we're camping or on a road trip. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more unconventional travel adventures.